Hi everyone, welcome again to another video, and this one's a question and answer sort of video. Anyway, I've got a few questions been asked. I picked out four that I think that most would be interesting to hear. Quite a few, and obviously the type of cameras I use. And what software do I use to actually edit the videos. Now I do have a video on editing the video, and I use iMovie when I'm doing that. It's just the basic, the one you get free. And in the PC, when I used the PC, I used Movie Maker. So they're the free programs that you get on your computer when you buy it. So and it's this one here. I use a mini Mac at the moment. And does well. I've got the premium, I've got the Final Cut Pro, but I got it mainly for doing shorts, because it allows you to do that, whereas the iMovie doesn't allow you to do that. Well, I don't think so anyway. But anyway, so that's the main reason for having the Final Cut Pro. But the Movie Maker, or the iMovie in this case, I use, that's fine, that does the job. I mean, it's good enough for especially YouTube. I mean, the footage is, I'm mainly working with 4K now, especially outside. That's the only difference. It takes a bit longer to upload. It takes, if it's an hour, it takes about 2 hours, 2.5 hours to upload. So if I've got an hour of footage, it takes out, and that's even with an upload speed of 20, so it's still slow. But anyway, as long as the quality is good. I mean, 1080p is still good, HD, it's still a good enough. But there's a lot of people watch it on the TV for some reason. Obviously easier to see. But at least 50% of the videos I put on YouTube are actually watched on the TV, so there we are. Shows you how bad the television is. I'm the same, I watch YouTube all the time. Actually, people ask me about the adverts. I know it's another question really. The adverts is the way to, it's the revenue I get from the adverts that pay my wages, and so I do restrict quite a few, but there's only a point where you have to keep some. But I've got what they call a family premium, which costs £20 for YouTube, £20 a month, but that does 6 families. Because I've got my family, and I allow them to. I actually invite them. So basically, we sort of work together. It's a couple of £1 each, and that pays for it. So if you're thinking of getting rid of the adverts altogether, premium is good, especially when you've got all your family members. If you've got your brother, your sister, or whatever, your mum, your dad, so they can use it. So look at it, because that's what I use. It's as I say, it's £19.99 a month, and between 6 of us, it's only a couple of £1, and that gets rid of all the adverts. So it does. You don't have an advert, which is, drive me nuts, to be honest with you. But anyway, that's what's worth thinking about that. Camera. Right, the other thing was obviously the camera. Now I'm going to change over to my other camera here. This, obviously I cut my head off. This is the one I use for filming or tying the flies. Camera I use, the question was, what camera do I use outside? This is the camera here. This is I've actually got two. I've got it's a GoPro, as you can probably see. This is a 12, and I've got a spare or a backup, which is the 11, which there's a featured one. On this one, on the 12, there's no GPS, so it doesn't get red hot. GPS is you can't turn it off, but they kept overheating, and the main reason was the GPS, as far as I believe, and so I would always switch it off. But on the 12, they don't have the GPS, so it's not constantly trying to find where you are and all this rubbish. You don't really need that, to be honest with you, especially when you're just filming it, when you're like in my case anyway, there'll be somebody out there that'll need GPS, but certainly I don't. Now, the game changer on the GoPro, and then lots of people ask me why did I just start filming outside. Well, one of the main reasons was the GoPro that I had, or the original ones, if it's slightest wee wind, even with the settings and working with the software on your computer, I mean, a tiny wee breeze going by it sounded like it was a hurricane. It was so sensitive. But what came out, I'll just show you, was this media mode, this thing. I think it's called a media mode anyway. It actually goes round the GoPro, because this is what the GoPro looks like when you get it. So that's it there. Take the door off so you can use this. But basically what this done, it allowed you to add, you could add a mic if you want, a USB-C, all the rest of it. There's a couple of things you could add to it. You just flip off at the back. But the thing about it that made the difference was this here, this mic. Take the cover off. This is just a kind of like a wind. So I stop the wind really, just a small sponge, like I keep thinking of a windsock, where the windsock's used for flying. But anyway, it just stops the wind. But there's directional mics on this, on the side, on the front, on the back. And when you've got this on the GoPro, you can actually adjust it or set it so that, in my case, I've set it so the mic is working on the back. So here's my voice. I do have a quiet voice, and a lot of people sometimes struggle with it. Obviously I can't do that. I'm not an opera singer. I'm not one of these people that shout from the highest mountain and all that type of stuff. So anyway, you just have to put up with my quiet voice and Scottish accent. But anyway, that made the difference. So that took away 99% of the hurricane, and made it much easier to actually hear and sound it far better outside. So the GoPro is what I use. It's, to be honest with you, there is some issues times with it. It switches off, overheats. There's a two or three things. It just depends on the weather. Bright sunshine, no wind, and there's no air going by it, so it doesn't keep it cool. And sometimes it'll switch off. So I just give it a minute and then I'll put it back on. But this doesn't happen a great deal, especially on this one. And the older one that did all the time, I seem to be putting it below the water to cool it down. But anyway, this one has served me well in the last couple of years. Now the 13 came out, it was last year. Obviously I didn't upgrade from this because I was happy enough with it. Didn't need to do that. But I'm looking at upgrading it or changing it, because there's a few things have changed since the 12. The one thing is there's another company called DJI, I think they're called. They have a similar sort of setup. They have a better sensor. So the sensor has like a better light sensor, especially in dark areas. It adjusts much better. When I've seen it online, it looks really, really good. But the issue I have is that when you've got a lot of sort of things to go with the GoPro, like obviously this, it's quite hard to change. It's quite expensive to change. So, but the last time I was out, I had some issues with it. I lost half my footage because there was no sound for some reason, and I've no idea why. It started filming okay. I got the beginning, a wee bit in the middle. I actually moved. I was going to another area to fish before I finished, and I did quite well. I actually had 3 or 4 fish, but I had no sound. So the whole of the footage was wasted. And so I'm going to be looking for something new. Any ideas, just let me know. The DJI seems to be the one, but look, I think there's some new ones coming out, so I'll try and make sure I pick the right one. It's very hard. You make lots of mistakes in this game, and you buy things you don't need, and you buy things, or you don't buy things you could use. You've got to find out. You've got to keep searching and looking online, and it's just believing some people, because I don't get paid, by the way, to promote these. I buy these myself. Basically, the monthly draw helps me get these. But anyway, that's the camera I use, and the software, as I say, is iMovie. It's very simple to use. I actually attach the GoPro to my chest with this chest back. This is, I think this is, that's not the first one. The original one was the hard plastic at the back. This is a nice soft, it makes a huge difference. So this is the GoPro version. It's very easy to use, it's comfortable as well, much better than the old one. So that's why I'm saying it's quite hard to change, so I'm crossing my fingers GoPro come out with a good camera, a better sensor, so on and so on. But anyway, next question, knots, tapered leaders. What do I use, what knot do I use when I'm making droppers? There's another question about my fly line as well. Well, tapered leaders I like, well, there's two main ones. And it's not just because of Full and Mill. There's lots of companies out there that make these. I've used Full and Mill for, gosh, from the 90s anyway. That's when I started buying and using I'll just show it, the nylon. And I should have a spool of it in here. I mean, I've got the spools on the side of my bag. It's another question I get asked. It's called the V2 now, that's the V2. Now when I'm making a sort of cast up £5-6 for up in the lochs, maybe go a wee bit more if it's rainbow trout, but for just wild brown trout like I was fishing in the other video, I would use this as straight through. I keep a hold of my old tapered leaders. This is an old one that I was going to take apart. I use the top part. This is from this one here. Now once I wear them out, I don't throw away the top part. I keep that just to add to my fly line, and then I add a cast onto it just to extend it. It helps to turn over and again, especially against the wind. That's what the taper leaders are for. But anyway, I use this for droppers, so or even straight through dry fly. Even I'd quite happy to use the £5 because these fluorocarbons are so thin in comparison to the old nylons, and in the water you hardly see them. They're very good. So there's just two main tapered leaders I use is these. I've got the 12-foot version and a 9-foot. Mainly get the 5X because that's down to £4. I can either add on an extension to that with the £4 as well, or one that's finer, like a 3 or a £2. So it's up to yourself. So that's the tapered leaders. For the knot, to actually attach the tippets and droppers, I use a blood knot. I usually call it a double blood knot. It's quite hard to show. I've got some heavy nylon here. This is a £12. I don't use this for, I use this for something else like, but anyway. To make a dropper, I used it, as I say, the blood knot. I got into bother last time for calling it a double blood knot, but it is two knots drawn together, really, to be honest with you. Now there's two ways of forming a dropper. I don't know if you can see this, but basically you form a loop and you hold it like that. And then you push the one that's nearest you, but make a loop. Just push it towards the loop which is formed and hold it, and then you wind it round the small one. And this is not as strong as the way I normally tie it, but this is the easiest way. You just wind it round and round, about five times anyway, and then you bring the big loop through the small one, pull it, just pull it in together, obviously moisten it, tighten up, and then you trim. And that's the dropper. That's the quick way of forming a double blood knot. But what happens when you do it that way, the knot is like when you tighten up the knots, both knots are coming together and sliding in together like this. The way I prefer it is to cut it and then form the, I'll show you. Now I'll go further in. Now the other thing about these knots is the whole 90 degrees from the line. Now what I normally do is I cut it. and form the dropper. Same knot, but what the difference is, I've got my dropper coming from my fly line. So my nylon's tied to my fly line, so that nylon there is the one that's coming for the fly line. I wind that away from myself, about 6 inches. Same number of times, 5 times. I go through the front, pull it up, just make sure I just hold it, there's the loop there. And then I do it the opposite way. I wind it the opposite way, so I wind it towards myself in this case. And then I go through the back. I'm going to show you what happens. And you basically hold them together. I mean, this is not going to be a great video, but I'll show you this. But basically, again, you moisten and you pull. Just take your time. Tighten up. Now, what you'll see, if you've done it right, because I went through the back with the dropper, the one you're using for your dropper, and then through the front with the other one type of thing. So as long as you go one way and the other, you should find that the nylon's either side, so that means you've done it right and they're not coming out the same side, because that's what they're like with that other knot, that other method anyway. So you trim that away. Now what happens by doing it that way, the knot then is like this, tightening up. So the both of them are coming in like that and tightening up really tight, and they're coming together, not together like I just find. Now I've fished this for years and years, and this has served me well. Now that's the same way I actually put my tippet on. So if I'm adding an extension to my tapered leader, that's how I do it as well. But I'd obviously trim away this, and that's my join. So if I was tapered leader was there, I'd be adding a finer tippet, and that's how I'd use the same note. So it's exactly the same as that. So anyway, that's how I form my droppers. Now, another question. I've got my fly reel here, and it's amazing what you notice. Everybody seems to notice it. What's the red bit in the end of my fly line? I'm going to zoom in so you can see this. This is a wee bit rough looking. If you, I don't even. Okay, I'll try and keep it in line with the fly because I know this is in focus. Now these are the leader rings I use. So the welded loop at the end of my fly line, I cut them off, and then I put on one of these. This is a 1.5 on a trout. On a salmon I would use a 2mm. So the 1.5 I'd put on the end of the fly line. Now how do I do that? Now what I do is I use a sharp or a scalpel blade, and I cut it like a right long taper. So I cut it on my desk. I mean, cut it on, I've got plastic here I can cut it, but I basically cut it like a long tapered cut. And then what I do is I put that through the leader ring, and what happens is you'll get it quite far. I mean, what I normally do is try and just pull it through a wee bit. You can maybe see it right at the very end, but I pull it through so it comes up to here, at least a good ½ inch to, well, it's more than a ½ inch, but you can just slightly long, making sure that you get enough to actually whip on. So then I basically just whip it down with some, and I use a fire orange thread, just a uni fly tying thread. You could use 6/0 or even 8/0. I think I used 8/0 in this one. So you just basically run up, back down, and then tie off, so to keep it nice and tight. And then I usually varnish it with nice fine clear varnish, and then I put a resin on the top, finish off with another coat of varnish, and then that's it. So then all I have to do if I want to join a leader, I mean, this is 12 pound nylon, it goes through it no problem. And so you mean heavy nylon, I mean if I'm using, this is my tapered leader, where is it? I mean this is like rope in comparison. I put this through it, so this is, and you'll see that goes through once I get onto it, no problem there. So I don't know how many pound that would be classed as. So I would be doing about 3 turns, that's all you're going to get, about 3 turns with this heavy nylon, through, pull it nice and tight. And that's how I join my, or that's what this is anyway, that's how I like to join it. It's much smoother, doesn't catch, turns over really well. When I'm using it, I make sure that I put my floatant on it, so it helps to keep the tip up. So anyway, that's what that is. That's how I join or take away my welded loop. There's lots of methods out there to do it. It's just, that's one. As I say, this is, what do you call it? The 1.5 for trout. And if you're using a heavier line, I would say maybe even a 7/8 upwards. I would certainly use maybe the 2mm. And the other last question is, why don't I use a vest? Or do I use a vest? There's both are 2 or 3 questions I got it. Well, I do use, to be honest with you, one of these packs. This here, if the camera will stay on me, this is the Yeti, this is the Sidekick dry 3-litre bag. It's just the only problem you get with it, you don't get a belt with it. But anyway, I tend to use the belt for my waders, so it holds my waders up anyway, so I just put it through that. This here is the fish bone, so to hold my tippet. Anyway, I've got £2 in my bag, and then I've got from 3 to 6, which is mainly for trout. I use that. Obviously holds my boxes, glasses, everything that I really need when I go fishing, especially, well, this one's set up for down the river. There's other companies, I've got other versions as well. The waistcoat, this was my favourite waistcoat. Against this crazy camera, I'll try and stand up so you can actually see. This is the Orvis Lightweight. This is the one that I used. I like the big pockets, side on. But because I'm filming all the time, the problem is when I'm filming, the waistcoat get in the way of the camera. It does clunk and click it, but I've got other things that do that as well. If I don't wear a waistcoat, what I like to use is this here. This is, well, I got this out of a charity shop for £5. It's a ski type top. This is made by a company called Bula. Anyway, it only cost me £5. But what I like about this is it's got the big pocket in the front. So I've got all my stuff in there. I put my phone in that if I need it. An emergency toilet roll. Just for your nose. But anyway, there we are. That's the pocket I use. This one's got a hood. I did put on one of these sort of D-rings at the back myself, just for my net if I need. But it's not waterproof, this thing, but it's nice, it's good. I like to use it. Even though it's meant for skiing, I think there's a couple of badges on it, but it doesn't bother me that. There's a badge on here. Bula, I think that's the name of the company. Oh, I did it there. I knew there was. That's what happens to me sometimes when I'm in the water. I do kind of backflips and slip. I don't know what that is. Caution, steep. But anyway, that's what I like to use. What's in my pocket or pockets on the side. So anyway, folks, there we go. That's another quick question and answer. And every so often I'll try and do 1 or 2 of these. It's been must be about a good 2 or 3 weeks since the last time I did the first one. This is the second. So anyway, I hope you found the video helpful, and always, like always, thanks for watching, and till next time.